Oliver slid into the driver's seat of his truck and shut the door with a heavy sigh. The familiar creak of the leather, the dull thud of the door latched. It was a small comfort after the night he'd had. He jammed the key into the ignition, turning it so the engine roared to life, letting the vibrations hum beneath him. The steady rumble soothed his frayed nerves in a way nothing else could. For a moment, he just sat there, gripping the steering wheel, staring out through the rain-slick windshield at the neon glow of the bar's sign. What a goddamn waste of a night. His phone had been in his pocket all night. He reached for it, with purpose this time, unlocking the screen and pulling up a number he hadn't texted in weeks. Veronica. Hey, you up? Can we talk? He hesitated only for a second before hitting send. He had no idea what he wanted to say to her, only that the weight pressing down on his chest was too much to carry alone tonight. Setting the phone down on the passenger seat, he shifted the truck into drive and pulled away from the bar, letting the wet streets and neon reflections blur into streaks of color. The drive home was quiet, except for the occasional whoosh of another car passing by. The world outside his window was a smear of motion, the flashing signs of late-night diners, the rhythmic red blink of stoplights, the soft yellow glow of apartment windows where someone else was having a life entirely separate from his own. He thought about Emma. Not in the same way he used to. Not in a way that made his chest ache with longing. No. Now he thought of her with something closer to regret. How had he wasted so much time on her? She was pretty, sure, but beyond that, he didn't like her. Not really. She was dishonest, not just with him, but with herself, clinging to some pathetic fantasy about Lucas instead of facing the truth. And worse, she had no gratitude, no awareness of others beyond what they could offer her in the moment. The Emma he had admired from afar had been a lie. I guess we both fooled ourselves, he thought bitterly. Before he knew it, he was pulling into the parking lot of his apartment complex, the cracked pavement shining under the streetlights. He killed the engine, sat in silence for a second, then grabbed his phone. No response from Veronica. With a tired sigh, he pushed open the door, stepping out into the damp night. Maybe she was asleep. Maybe she wouldn't answer at all. Didn't matter. He was too exhausted to care now. Inside his apartment, he kicked off his boots, tossed his jacket over the chair, and didn't even bother turning on the light as he collapsed onto the bed. Tomorrow was another day. He closed his eyes. Emma pulled her coat tighter around herself as she stepped outside, the night air sharp against her damp skin. The Uber was already at the curb, headlights cutting through the drizzle. She climbed into the back seat with a quiet thanks, smoothing her skirt down as she settled in. The driver didn't speak, which was fine. She had too much on her mind anyway. The ride home felt longer than it should have. Maybe it was the rain, maybe it was the tingling buzz of alcohol, or maybe it was the nagging thought that had lodged itself in her brain the second that man had walked out of the bar. Goodbye, Emma. I'm glad I finally got to meet you. She shifted in her seat, arms crossing over her chest. How had he known her name? She replayed the conversation, searching for the moment she had slipped up and mentioned. She hadn't. Not once. Even when he asked about Lucas, she had kept things vague, had even lied, had made it clear that she wasn't interested in talking about herself. And yet, he had known her. She swallowed hard, staring out the window as the city streets passed by, blurred with rain. It was unsettling. Not in a creepy way, more in a what the hell am I missing kind of way. Like a puzzle piece that didn't fit. But she couldn't figure out why. Her building came into view, and she let out a slow breath as the car rolled to a stop. She stepped out, offering another quiet thanks before heading up to her apartment, her heels clicking softly against the tile. Inside, she kicked them off, peeled off her damp coat, and let herself sink into the couch. She should shower. She should drink some water. But instead, she just sat there, fingers grazing over her lips, her mind still turning over the same question. How did he know my name? Eventually, exhaustion won out. Dragging herself to bed, she collapsed onto the mattress, exhaling as she pulled the blankets over her. Tomorrow was another day. She closed her eyes.